right. Recording started. Wow, many people today. So, things that has transpired since last month. I finally updated the documentation for Hivemind Gandalf. So all of the community stuff is up to date now. I have an MR going on. There was a bunch of things that was not correct at all, so that's been solved. I also rewrote a bunch of things and removed some links to like the Stimit white paper from 2017. Even though like it's the origin of it, it's not that relevant anymore, and it looks wrong to be in like the docs anyways. The Apart from this, there was a bug with block ranges, so that's been solved, where you could query like a block that's like block number -1. Made some changes to the mesh API. Spent a bunch of time looking into into um, into getting a test suite going on because they have like their internal testing tool, which is kind of awful to work with. Though I guess that work won't be. I'm probably gonna focus on actual Hive stuff because, as Crimson told us, it's not the highest priority right now. But nonetheless, I also did it to use like the newest stack because it was in RC10 and they did it to work with RC12. If my memory, I mean the latest version, 12 RC2. I forgot. But yeah,
RC3.
yeah, RC3. So yes, I've done that. In the future, so I found out that basically Hivemind and MadeBD Hive.blog doesn't use some. I mean, I found out that PigD doesn't use some community features correctly, namely setting the avatar and cover page for the accounts, and that's because the cover page is not cover image URL is not officially supported. So I'm going to add support for this. And I'll see. I noticed that a lot of Half utilities have unit tests, but they only test for like the happy path. So that led to issues like the -1 block index thing. So I might look into it and just add a bunch of tests for the SQL functions here and there. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. So I guess the first thing is we're still sort of in final testing for release. I think we're probably going to release this week, um, hopefully before I leave, which is tomorrow. So maybe we'll release today. We'll see. We're getting close. Um, but we've replayed the RC3. Took us about, I guess, 3 days, maybe 3.5, I guess, and that's on our fast machine. So, but it is replaying literally everything. So the new stack is probably everybody knows includes a bunch of new stuff. We've got the Hive Sense, which is the semantic searching through the posts. We've also got added just regular full text search to Hivemind itself. Um, there's a new half app called NFT Tracker, which I don't know much about since it was mainly worked with. We were working in cooperation with the Holozine guys on how that works. So, and I wasn't much in the loop for it, but another app. We also incorporated optional support for half SQL. So if somebody running an API node wants to have half SQL running on their server, they can offer that as an additional feature. It is fairly large, so it does add some data storage. I forget exactly how much it is because the compressed amount is probably the important amount. I can't recall the compressed amount, but it's not so bad to compress for. So, let's see. As far as the other thing, I guess is kind of important. Everybody know we're also setting the hard fork date for her for 28. We've set it to November 19th. Doesn't mean the hard fork is going to happen then. Of course, that's not the way this thing works. We got to actually have enough top 20 running it to make that happen. But I don't expect any problems, so I think there's a good chance that we'll hard fork at that time. So that's been set in the code. We'll tag once we tag it and release it to master. The reason I'm doing it this way is so that the half API node operators won't need to necessarily upgrade twice. Once they upgrade to get the new stack, they'll already be running the right version, so they won't have to later update their Hive-D before the hard fork. Let's see what else. There's a fair number of, we've been mostly making fixes to things on the Hive-D side, just as we keep testing. There've been fairly minor issues, really, but still, like we had a warning message that was popping up in the logs that would confuse people that were running, that might make them think they had a problem on their system when it really wasn't. It was we already seen some people complaining about unlinkable blocks, and it's related to the light nodes that don't have blocks from the past. So it turns out it was just the message was basically erroneous. There wasn't really any problem, but it did lead to confusion. So we basically made that message a debug level message now instead of a warning message, because there's nothing really to warn about in that case. Let's see. Probably the other really big thing I think for most developers is we've covered the API now for not only the half apps but also Hive-D itself, and that includes like the Hivemind JSON API calls. So when you go to the Swagger on one of the nodes now, you'll be able to see literally all the API calls, and you can actually test them out and run them right from the web pages there. So I think that's going to be a real big improvement in their development process, especially for we're bringing in new people to work on Hive stuff. And even if they're using AI, because now you can point your AI to that, and they can like play around and figure out things. Another thing we're working on, this isn't done yet, but it's pretty far along at this point, which is pruned versions of half. So here, this is if you want to run a half node that doesn't maintain the entire history of the blockchain. So it's a very lightweight half node. This can be especially useful if you're running half apps that only need their own data and don't need the base half data. Like I think Gandalf pointed out last time, one good case for this is Hivemind itself. Let's see what else. We talked about text search. We made some more improvements to the balance tracker, just made it faster. And we also cut down some of the space that was used, so space reductions there. I guess one of the other big announcements is Wax has really moved quite far along at this point. We've added support for better message handling. I talked about this last time, that before, when you dealt with a lot of the message that Hive-D would put out, you would have to basically write a regular expression to parse the error messages coming from Hive-D. And now we've got dedicated error codes, and basically, if changes to Hive-D and the error messaging won't break your clients now if something like that happens. We saw that happen. That's what led to this whole feature. Because if you change the error message, then the code that was looking for a specific error message might not be able to find it anymore, for instance. We also added support for encryption decryption in Wax now, supported by the external signers. It was already supported internally, but if you were using an external signer like a keychain or something like that, now you can encrypt and decrypt stuff with keychain and the other one, the one we created too, the MetaMask one, and also I think Peak Vault as well. Let's see what else. We speeded up the Wax Python in particular is really far along now. It's pretty much it's basically it's now releasable with the same kind of feature set as we have on the TypeScript side finally, and that's something we've been trying to get to for a long time. As part of that, we also optimized the speed at which the Python Wax loads. It used to take 187 milliseconds. Now it's down to 8 milliseconds. That feature was in part driven by Clive. That's the new command line tool we've written, and it uses the Python Wax. So every time you were making a command, it was taking about 187 milliseconds to make a CLI command, which seemed a bit much. So now that's no problem. We've also added a lot of documentation for Wax. So we've got like a high-level documentation that discusses it in basically a language independent way. And then we've also got, for each example, we have both a Python and a TypeScript example. The Python version has now been published on PyPy, so it's publicly available. So that's kind of the state of Wax. And Wax is also being used in a bunch of tools, as I mentioned. One is Clive, and another one is Worker Bee. Worker Bee is basically like a bot library for for Hive. Um, so it just builds on top of Wax to add features for basically responding to events that happen in the blockchain. So you can make it's a nice, if you want to make a nice lightweight app, Worker Bee is a choice. Basically, the kind of differentiator between Worker Bee and Hive to a large extent is just how much data you're going to maintain of your own. If you're going to maintain a lot of data, then you're probably going to go with Hive. If you're just mostly just processing blockchain data and you're not going to keep around a lot of data, then Worker Bee might be more appropriate just as a lightweight option. So we've also been, I guess the other side of it is we've been doing a lot of testing and optimizing of various things just before the release. So we made a bunch of changes to HiveSense. HiveSense is semantic search. We wanted to get that to the point where it would be easily run on any of the API nodes. Originally it required basically a GPU. Now you don't need a GPU. And the other thing is it required a lot of memory to build the indexes to search, to do the semantic searching. And we got that also down quite a bit. So now the indexes used to take a long time to build. They now, even on a reasonable machine, just a reasonable machine, it only takes about 80 minutes, where before it was like 8 hours. And the amount of memory required is far lower too. To get it to build fast, when the indexes were bigger, you had to have like maybe 100 megabytes of memory, 100 gigabytes of memory almost, and now it's basically 8 gigabytes is fine. So that's kind of where we're at. And like I said, next step is just a release, hopefully just this week. I don't know if anybody had any questions about that. If not, I'll pass it on to the next person. Okay, anybody want to go next?
Sure, I'm happy to provide some updates. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks guys for your updates. From our side, okay, let me give some updates into first the Block Explorer UI. So first, we integrated recently user proposal votes history. So now you can actually view the history per user of all the votes they have done onto proposals. We created a new endpoint or new page based on a new endpoint that is the top holders for Hive, HBD, VES, savings. This is incorporated already into the UI with a new top holders page where you can check by token or sort or view by pagination. This still needs to be extended in the API so that it's all inclusive across all accounts. But for now, it is returning up to 2,000 users on the UI. We created a whole new settings section that is very dynamic and provides a different layout, different configuration, different view, whether on the landing page, whether on the user page, switching between different layouts, for example, for your voting power, for your RC, for your dashboard, for different boxes that show on your dashboard. We have a switchable setting between HP and VEST, the account resources. There's really several settings that we recently incorporated. We redesigned the data table layout so that it looks much more neater now. Under profile view, we also created a new card that would fetch the proxied accounts for the user. This was, I think, something that's been missing also for a long while. So now we can fetch the proxied accounts per user based on also the new API endpoint that is now available. Okay, conversion, request integration. Yes, okay. So the backend resource, one of them actually worked on integrating conversion requests now. So this has been pushed via an MR, I think, and not sure if it's already available or not. I probably need to double check. So if anyone is doing conversion, HBD conversion or Hive conversion, this should be reflected into the wallet. Also, we improved the proposals page. So the proposal page now supports searching by ID. We also integrated links between proposals and the proposals page on the HiveScan. So any transaction that involves a transaction on the proposal itself, clicking on it will actually go to filter by the proposal and take you to the relevant proposal on the proposals page. Okay, there were several enhancements to our single post page. There was also, yeah, okay, so the data view selection, which switches between textual display, JSON, a formatted JSON, so now is saved between pages. So if you move between different pages, this setting will be stored, so it will be reflected across all pages. I think it was also added as a setting, so you can probably, or maybe not yet. Yeah, that's still under works. Okay, what else? There was an old request regarding witness set properties, for adding formatter support for witness set properties. So now if anyone uses the witness set transaction, you would see all the details and all the properties are being captured and displayed visually under the textual data display. So you would see everything that this user or this witness has set in this instruction or transaction. We added market order rates. So if you are putting an order on the market or an order has been filled, so you'd actually see the rate at which this order has been filled. So, an average rate for this order. What else? Okay, so there is a new view setting for all tables under table headers so that you can have a compact or an expanded view for the table. This helps with larger screen sizes for the table not to be too spread wide. We also have the export functionality, which is already there for most of the tables. We also added this under delegations view for the user, the witness votes, the recurrent transfers. There's also now a link between the wallet card delegations and the received or outgoing delegations and the actual listing. So clicking on received or outgoing will actually take you to the relevant delegations, whether outgoing or incoming. So you would actually visually see the list of delegations. We adjusted the transaction URL format to use /tx instead of /transaction. This has been the norm with the Hive blocks, and I think PeakD's Explorer also uses TX. So we switch over to TX. We also added support to click on virtual transactions so that you can highlight them, or you can go to the virtual transaction and view the details. Okay, we also added the account creation fee in the visualized data view. So when an account is created based on a payment, so you would see that there was a payment associated with this transaction. We've done a lot of testing. So my recent backend developer that we just added, I asked her to do a full review over the Swagger API. And thank you, Dan, for making it this bulky. So it took her a while because everything was added there. But the good thing, I mean, she found a lot of issues. Ho mentioned one of the issues she reported recently, which is the response code when you have block 0 or blocks in the negative. So this was one thing that's common across several projects. Thank you, Ho, for fixing this. I think also Mahdi Yari fixed this on HaveSQL. What else? The savings withdrawal, I think Mahdi, my guy, the backend developer, worked on making this also available, the savings withdrawal. I think he also sent out a merge request for this recently. Sorry, there's a ton of tons of lists here, so I'm just trying to pick things. Okay, so we mentioned delegations, we mentioned average market order. Okay, so we're almost done with the incoming and outgoing filtering for transactions or operations. The API has already been done. The front end is also almost ready. There was just a bug that needs to be fixing, and I believe within this week it should also be available. Okay, what else? Yeah, also my backend developer is working on the escrow data based on mock blocks. So he figured out alongside Michael how to set up the mock blocks. And this has helped him to work on the escrow data. We have our new development server, but it is replaying. And Dan, I don't know, about 3.5 days. It's taking us longer to replace.
Oh, you're not
So
using the
when
same
we
machines
update
I
our
am.
server,
I can tell you
it's
if I ever
taking
get a machine that'll run that fast.
Oh yeah. Okay, what else? And I also love that we added status API. So this is really helpful. I saw it on our machine and I saw it on Syncad. This is great stuff. But one thing I had a question regarding this is I spotted a couple of unhealthy things in HiveMind. Is it normal for it to show unhealthy if you are replaying? Or is that something concerning?
I think that's been fixed. I know there was one of the apps was reporting is, I was thinking it was HiveSense, but maybe I can't remember which one. I remember one was reporting as being unhealthy when it was replaying, and no, it's not normal. And I think that there was a commit I made. I remember, I think Eric made a merge request to fix it. So I'll check and see if it's the same. We can verify which is the same one that he found, but I'm pretty sure he's fixed them all.
Yeah, I think it's fixed already.
Okay. So I will double check. I think we are replaying RC2. Is it fixed in RC3?
I do not recall, to be honest.
Okay.
I know it's quite recent that he spotted it. It was in the past few days. So I don't recall if it's before or after RC3.
Okay. So I will double check with my dev also to see what we are replaying right now. That's it. There's really tons of projections for the future and tons of functionality we're working on. So this is in a nutshell what we have done so far this month. So thank you everyone. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer. Sorry, I took a long time today.
Anybody want to go next?
I can pop in here.
Okay.
This is Eco Instant, and I'm here with GM. We have a little update for you all. We've been, among other things, we've been working on our Nectar Python package, and we've finally stripped everything that has to do with Steam and Blurt, and we've added half application, the half coverage, and we're looking to add more of those. I wanted to thank you, Block Trades, for just those links in the core dev chat. We got the API calls, and haven't been to the last 2 meetings, but those links were really helpful. We're very pending what you guys are doing. I heard that Wax is now on PyPy, so we'll be checking that out again. Just really excited about these updates and making cool tools for people. We also released a standalone tool page. And so if anybody wants to give some feedback on that or has a great idea for a tool, we've been working with on our latest release, the CMark. To see the markdown of the Hive post, we've been working with Luis on some security things. And so generally been working with, we've worked with Marky, we've working with Hive SBI. We've been talking to Vaultec from VSC, just trying to connect into what everybody's doing. And I'm excited to see Menno here. So I'll share this site and pass it over to maybe Menno can tell us what he's doing.
I guess, well, I apologize. It's my first time here, so I don't know the format. So if I say something dumb, I hope I can be forgiven. But what I had a conversation the other day with guilty parties, and I guess it was what we wanted to talk about, or what I wanted to talk about today, because I think it could be something quite powerful for onboarding. As you guys know, with Snappy, our iOS launch went pretty well. So far, no complaints on the App Store, which I think is awesome. It also shows more or less that the community is aligned with what we need to do. So instead of complaining on on the App Store when they've reported bugs, because there's always bugs. They've done that internally, so that's great. Good for us.
Yeah, good idea.
But yeah, I know we're already patched killed some bugs, so that's great. With the Android version, we are moving forward. We added more features, cleaned up, of course, some bugs, and we started the internal testing for Android, which is a requirement that Google has after you pay their fee, so that you can actually be a real developer. So I guess I'm not a real developer yet, but once they the 15 days go by with internal testing and they go like, oh, you didn't blow up the world, then I can actually apply for the app review. But I've been told that if iOS passed us, then Google should be cake. And at that point in time, is maybe when we want to, and it's a good place to brainstorm this idea. I want to discuss how we can integrate Snappy into an onboarding pipeline, so to speak, because of course all of us are worried or are focused on how to obtain users and how to retain them, and I think that was always the idea of Snappy, making something that is so simple to use that they don't really have to know it's built on blockchain. Not really. It's just a password, and eventually the blockchain part can come. So Guilty Party said to me, it would be amazing if we were able to build an onboarding pipeline to where I can send out, it could be something sponsored by Vital Plan or no, it could be somebody doing it, authorized onboarders, let's call them, and they have QRs and people scan a QR, they would download Snappy, create an account, and right away, be in there. And then later on, if they love Hive, which obviously we hope they do, then they can learn about front ends, wallets, and all that stuff. But we get them in the door, get them having some fun. I think the idea, obviously, it's very simple to say, but the idea has a lot of potential, because onboarding still takes a long time. Apps like Check-in With is making it a lot easier. I use it quite a bit. But maybe it could even be easier than that. So I guess I'm bringing that to the table today so we can discuss how you guys can see this happening. One of the things that Guilty suggested was a fund to burn so that we can create accounts. Obviously, I have account creation tokens, but I've been able to collect maybe 200. So it's nothing that is going to be if we really succeed onboarding via this method, it's nothing that is going to make a big dent. So with that, I wanted to, I don't know, present it to you guys, see what you guys have to say. If you guys like the idea, because I'm willing to put time and effort into it. If it is something you guys agree with, that I can also get some let's call it political backing for it, because it has to be something that we all agree on, or I'm just going to be building something that nobody's going to use. So yeah, that's what I wanted to bring today to the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I need to take a look at it more, to be honest, for my own opinion about it. But I mean, I feel like that's something we've always wanted, was a way to quickly have people to get accounts when, like, we're conferences, just as an example. I think they were using like Hive Invite or something like that at one point to do something like that. But I honestly don't feel like the account creation cost should be something we should even worry about. Account costs are really quite trivial at the moment. So I think the bigger issue is just, it's got to be something that's very simple, and people don't lose their passwords and things like that. I think that's the real issue, not so much the cost of tokens.
I wanted to ask a question about free accounts. We've had a lot of discussion. I mean, should we impose a cost, a nickel?
In my opinion, yes. I've always felt that way since I thought the feature when it was created was a terrible idea, and I've always felt we should get rid of it. But I didn't want to other people seem to like it, so I've never pushed for it hard, because other people don't think the same. But yeah, if we can get some consensus, I would in fact think that's the best thing you do, is get rid of the whole credit system. Yeah, even before Hive was created.
Something that I suggested, and it's not that difficult to make. would be for the free faucets to have access to an API point that can be maintained by trusted people.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah,
that there's
absolutely.
a certain
They could use those free accounts up. But I mean, honestly, I guess you're saying we could also just buy some. I mean, we could also just have a way that you could, it wouldn't have to be the free accounts. You could also just I could set up a server, for instance, that would create accounts and, but the problem always with all this is you need to be sure it's unabused, right? That's the heart and soul of it. Any system where you're getting free accounts, it tends to lead to abuse, for the most
I
part.
disagree there.
The only way to get around it, I think, that works really well is you do these face-to-face things. You have a trusted party and they're introducing people. At that point, that's not going to happen.
No, but it's kind of connected to what I'm saying. Like, because if we were to have these onboarding events and only certain people that we trust, you go like, okay, this person, and it is connected to a chicken with type of thing, then I think we're never going to squash all the abuse, but I think we got rid of most of it at that point.
Yeah, that would certainly get rid of the free ones. We'd have to do two things. We'd have to get rid of the free account creation, and we'd have to implement something like that. Yeah, and it seems it's totally feasible. So I guess it's a matter of getting the stakeholders together. On the abuse side, I think we need to get rid of the free accounts. That's a political problem more than anything else. And then, but I think if we had a solution that's working, it would be a lot more easy to make that political thing happen, because people would be saying, look, we've got a system that works. We don't need these free accounts anymore.
No, the biggest problem is on-ramp. If we could have a way to easily pay $1 to get a Hive account, that wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, that would actually, yeah, it's not even $1 right now, right? So
Yes. I already counted in all the extra fees for.
Gotcha.
Biden.
Okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So you're right. A lot of times it's just how does somebody pays that $1? That often is the issue. But so I mean, I think we could have two layers. We could have a simple cheap payment system, and on what Mino's suggesting, the other side of it is we can have an onboarding program where trusted people just onboard people at events and things like that. Or
on the latest conference I was attending was Young Art Fair. Ngrave provided a QR code that we're using his account creation tokens for new accounts. And if the event is small enough, the chance of abuse is also minimal. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the abusers are basically people it's one guy who just wants to create a bunch of accounts. It's not people that are going into an event and abusing it. That's just not really going to happen in any practical way. The problem is strictly you set up some kind of automated system for creating accounts, and then one guy goes out there and just, figures out how to work around the protections on it.
Yeah, the free faucets. I should mention this. I don't know on the ground if anybody's using this, but in Guatemala, one of the things we do, we transferred account creation tokens. We leveraged RC delegations and a standalone RC claimer tool. So our ambassadors who had relatively new accounts.
Oh, I see. You gave them you took RC from a big account, gave it to a small account, and then it could claim tokens with it.
Right. And we had to build a tool for that because there was no tool, but it's easy enough for the script. You just claim them because you have the RC.
Yeah. So what you could do with that is you could temporarily give it to them, let them claim 10 or 100 tokens, and then they could pass them out. And then you could just redirect that RC to somebody else. And so you could have a couple people like this that, are going to, not just create random accounts. Yeah, that seems quite practical.
It worked pretty well. Again, this is on the other side of of automated faucet. It's working pretty well in Latin America, but it's energy intensive. I mean, you gotta, just like always, you gotta keep up with them. And maybe Menno, tell us about your top 3 tips. You got your whole neighborhood coming on board. And so how are you keeping it together? Do you do weekly meetup? I mean, what is your secret?
It's a lot of it's a lot of little things like visiting. Funny enough, I created an account that in the slogan it says, I don't know, like turning on the economy one purchase at a time. Because the idea was that every single person that I onboarded, like business wise, were somebody that I was likely to use, and I'm trying to spend there so that they're not like, oh yeah, they told me this thing and nobody buys with it. So it's me. I'm buying bread. I'm buying from the market. I'm buying drinks. I'm buying, and it works out well for me because I don't have to convert to dollars. And I think some people are catching on slowly but surely that there's a better way. There's a big opportunity in in countries like this one, and I know sometimes it's uh, South America gets kind of looked down upon. I can say that because we're like, oh, the economy here, you could call it kind of weak, but it is a place where there's a lot of opportunities for something to Hive to really come fix those issues. Because when there's no problems, then you really have no reason to use it. You're not trying to solve anything. And places like Ecuador, and I'm sure Colombia is very similar. In small places like where I live, there's a liquidity issue. Like nobody has money. You may have land, you may have a house, but you don't have money. And there's also not enough cash to go around, and people don't have ways to process cards because it's just too expensive. So, but they have internet. So this is why I think it's a lot easier to build hubs in a place like this where there's opportunity. And I say that because I lived in the States for most of my life, and in the States, my friends, when I tell them about Hive and all this stuff, they're like, "Why would I? I can just do Zili. You know, why would I'm not solving a problem. Here we are." Um, so in that sense, because it is solving a problem, it is a little easier, I would say, to keep them using it. And we're never going to beat Nigeria for obvious reasons. They've been doing it for longer, but we're second on the HBD economy, which is I think it's pretty cool. And we're building some more. This week, I'm trying to onboard I don't know what you would call it. It's more like a resort, and they have pools. They have they obviously sell beer. They sell stuff, and it's like on top of a mountain that oversees the beaches. It's really beautiful. And I approached them yesterday, and I have a meeting with them hopefully tomorrow to onboard them and maybe start doing workshops there. Because I've, for very inexpensively, I can set up a workshop and try to onboard 20 people in one go instead of doing one at a time. So that's what I'm doing, and I think it's working out pretty good. Where I'm maybe 80 something people that I've onboarded, 11 businesses so far, and getting more people to join me and doing it. Obviously, it's the work of an ant, as they say. You go slow, but eventually you start going like, oh shit, like now I barely convert to dollars. There's no reason to, because most of the shopping I do, it's in HBD, which is pretty awesome. The one thing I haven't solved is gasoline. But I've tried. I went to the gas station already like 4 or 5 times. But the other thing I wanted to say, and I know we kind of moved past that subject, Nico, and thanks for allowing me to share that about South America, because I think this is a place of opportunity for Hive. But regarding free faucets, I realize that there's a political cost to saying that, more so because, and I'm halfway joking, but I'm not. Because we are the cabal, and the cabal hates the little guy. I'm being sarcastic. Hopefully that's obvious. So there's a political cost to trying to make those choices. So I would say maybe shutting it down is not a great idea. But I do believe that the people that are offering those services, which the front ends that can do a better job in mitigating abuse. And one of the things I suggested, and I know this is a cat and mouse game, and maybe I'm doing something that might not solve the problem, but I think it's going to mitigate, is if we could create a list maintained by the community, maintained by a lot of us, where we put in names, beginnings of names, endings of names, variations of, like, let's say crypto exchanges and all stuff, that this API point, all it does is we're going to make an account. Let's say I'm not singling anybody out, but let's say SNC. You have a free faucet, you want to have a free faucet. That's great. You're going to create an account, you hit that path with the name they requested. If it tells you Yes or no? And if you get a no, that means that the name is too close to an exchange, it's too close to somebody that's already on Hive or not. And then, of course, they can go and spend Hive themselves and create their account, but we want them to. But at least the free faucets won't be as abused. I think something like that can be built with a day of work, really, a good day of work, maybe two. Maybe I'm being naive. But if I was to put that effort, because I'm willing to do it, I want to know if you guys think, we can.
So no, you're not naive. It can be done in a day or two, and it won't work. So, I mean, so you're like optimistic because what abusers do is so ridiculous for like us who knows how Hive works. Like one of the schemes was like you go to developers.hive.io and then you like select one word and select the other word on that website, and that's the account name that scammer asks you to send it. So whatever schemes of or naming conventions you figure out that they are using, they're really free to change them to whatever, and people will still fall for that. So it's not going to solve that problem.
Honestly, I think the free accounts actually creates a sort of disincentive too. Because like if I go to a page that says I can get a free account or I can get a paid account, well, everybody's going to go to the free account. I mean, it's just human nature. And the problem is too, is that free accounts, when you get something for free, people don't value it. They take it for granted. They don't worry about it. If they lose it, who cares? It was free to begin with. So I think the system where you pay for the accounts is likely to actually make people who get them to actually say, well, this, I paid for this, it's worth something. And I feel like the free accounts basically negates that whole idea when people get their account. So, I mean, if somebody give it to them as a friend, but paid for it, they still think that's valuable. It's a gift, right? But it has value.
Now, are you suggesting?
I'd like to. Sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'd like to share a quick feedback on this point because under ActiveIt sign-up process, I mean, first, we've been also proponents of paid accounts because we know how abuse works, and we've always pushed for people to actually pay to get an account. So that's our perspective. We still think it's better to get people to pay. That's one thing. The second thing, the point that Minu mentioned regarding the patterns or the names of the users. So we actually detected a pattern, and I mentioned it probably a few times on Mattermost. We've seen so many scammers scam users with a pattern called UID, and then probably 7 or 8 digits UID pattern, which is the pattern commonly used under MEXC exchange. So I saw tons of signups coming through to our ActiveIt signup, which are paid. So these abusers actually pay to create an account which has this particular pattern because they're making tons of money out of it. So we actually blocked this pattern on ActiveIt, so people no longer are able to create this pattern. They stopped using our service and they went to other services.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they will find a way. What Gandalf mentioned, of course, they will find a way. They will maybe go to an unpaid option or whatever. So the idea is if we can maybe consolidate this thing or agree on certain no-go options on the account creation on all the front ends. Of course, they can always go to just use the library, use Hive.js, create an account, and pay for it. But at least we are somewhat minimizing how easy it is for them to create an account with this pattern. But yeah, I mean, from our perspective, putting some limits makes sense. Paying for the account would make even more sense.
Yeah, you should make those UID accounts just more expensive.
Man, they're terrible. They're terrible. I mean, when I saw all these patterns, I mean, oh my
Like
God,
premium.
we cannot let this continue. Yeah.
Just to get clarification on your idea of block trades, because I want to make sure I understood it. When you say get rid of free accounts, you mean just front ends removing that completely, or you're talking about on layer one?
Yeah, I mean on the layer one, I think the feature itself should just go away. I think it's always been a bad idea, and I think it's harmed and it's done more harm than good, in my opinion. I mean, account costs are quite reasonable. It's a minimal fee. If we want to give out free ones, well, we could actually have a DHF proposal that bought that put some money in to buy accounts, and then we could have ambassadors still give away those free accounts, right? So the quote free because they were paid for by the DHF. But the feature, as it's implemented now, I think it's just easily subject to abuse.
I don't disagree with your point, and I think if presented right, I don't think that we would be accused of being elitists. If presented right, there's like a pre-work needs to happen, but I'm sure the numbers can be well, with Marky's tool, I'm sure that you can make the case really easily how these account faucets are being abused. More so because of things like what Mark Farhad was just describing. The typo. What are those called? Typo traps. I even fell for one time.
Oh, so, yeah, they're easy to fall for, no doubt about it. Yeah. So I mean, there's a couple of different problems along the way that we still need fixing. So my idea for sort of getting away from the free accounts that we have now is to offer L2 free accounts, and then you'd have a way that you could buy an L1 version of it later. If you decided you wanted to have more, capability, have your own account. That's been my plan for this, but it's a matter of getting L2 accounts done, and the guy who's going to work on it's been working on, got distracted by HiveSense stuff for a couple months, and he's just freed up now.
Yeah, and that combined with the changes to claimant accounts, I think it's solved the issue. I mean, if we are able to get people who actually want to use Hive, they can use L2 accounts. And if they decided to stay, it's not a big deal for them to pay.
Exactly.
Without even on ramp, because they will be.
No, they already got the account, so yes. That's right. So I think that's the best solution, but it does require implementation. But L2 accounts is not just for that. It's offering a lot of benefits. So that is one benefit. So in this idea, you could actually, for instance, get your L2 account just by signing in with your whatever account you have, a Facebook account, Google account, for instance, as a starting point. And then after that, later buy a real account. Claim it as a real account, essentially, as L1 level account.
Is this basically comparable to what VSC is trying to do, or?
I don't know, because I don't know what VSC is doing, but
well,
it's essentially the light accounts is fairly straightforward idea. You as an L1 account, you can set up like a domain namespace, and you can give out L2 accounts under your domain namespace. And so they would actually, they could, if depending on how they create their L2 account, the end user creates his L2 account. He can either be using his, I'm going to use the Google account as an example, his Google account to do things. And there he'll only be able to do posting level things. He won't be able to do money level things. But, you can do, but then if you want to create keys, you can actually get your own set of L2 keys. And at that point, you can do money level things too. But your actions are always taking place under you're signing at the second layer, but there's that account that owns that namespace that's signing it, that's processing at the first layer. So say you got a game and you want to have a bunch of players on your game, you give them L2 accounts. All their actions are actually wound up being done through that game account. There's some game account that actually L1 game account. But they can individually sign with their L2 keys, so the game knows who's, you can't play with another player's money or do game actions with another player's account. But then if you want, you can then, these accounts will be portable. They're not, even though they're operating under a certain domain namespace, you could actually go to another provider and use any L1 account can basically publish your transactions. It doesn't have to be the one that you originally got it from. So it is kind of an account of your own, even at the L2 level. But the L1 account, if you turn it to an L1 account, then you can actually do actions without any interaction with an L. You don't need a basically some kind of proxy for you at the L1 level. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense, and this is exactly the problem that we needed to fix. I had no idea this was being worked on because I mean, unless I misunderstood, you would be able to create a L2 account with your Google email.
Yes.
Like it'll be just as that would be insane. Now if we implement that with an app like Snappy, that's a winning combo. Then the onboard is 2 minutes.
There's an issue about it. If you want to read more of the details, it's fairly. I'll publish it after the meeting in Mattermost if you want to see more about how it works.
For sure. Because I actually brought this to Vaultec at some point in time. So Vaultec is built. I guess you could call it effectively a bridge. What he's building, and it's doing it through. There's a company called Magic Bridge, and then now he's using another one, but it's a bridge so that you can use auth accounts or Google accounts, social logins with which effectively become smart wallets, and you can use that to move your EVM stuff, and because BSC is EVM, then it kind of works out. And then I was thinking, and then we can bridge that.
This with Hive, it works directly. We did a prototype just to be sure it all worked.
That is awesome. Because because the thing is that was depending on somebody else's infra, So this is
awesome. No, this is strictly this will be all open source available stuff.
Awesome stuff. By all means, please share. I want to read about it.
Yeah, I'll just send it to Mattermost after the meeting. I don't know if it's got the L2, if it's got the Google stuff, because that wasn't in the original part. That was something we came up after, but I'm not sure it's documented there or not. But I'll check it. If not, I'll get it documented.
And guys, I know I'm the new guy. Maybe I'm way out of the loop. But is this a planned as part of the hard fork, or no?
No, this is completely separate. It doesn't require a hard fork because it's all L1 level. I mean, it's all L2 level.
And is there a timeline for this?
It's the next thing we're going to do after we get this release out. So very soon, I would say, is the answer. Certainly, I think first quarter of 2026 will be released.
Gandalf. Because this is huge. I mean, I know that, and I say this lovingly, guys. We have the Hive bias, and we like how things are, and we're cyberpunks or whatever. But we need to be friendly to normies. This is huge. Now I'm bullish as fuck.
Okay. Anybody else want to cover anything they're working on today, or? I think we probably covered everybody. Unless Bartek, did you have anything you want to say, or? I think I probably covered stuff that you wanted to talk about.
Well, actually, I think you have covered most of our things. So probably I have not so much to add.
Okay. Was there a but there? I missed that.
Sorry, could you repeat?
You said but. I thought you were going to say something more.
No, I have voice troubles.
Oh, yeah, I can hear that. Yeah, okay. Sorry to bother you. Yeah, it sounds like I got a call. Okay, well, thanks, guys, for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.